Joining us now, she's the new assistant coach at Washington. Got promoted this offseason. Has just now recently retired from playing softball. That's going to be a little weird not to see her playing, but she will be in the dugout coaching, still involved in the sport of softball. We'll talk about all of that. I speak of former Husky Pac-12 performer, all-region performer, and now new assistant coach, Courtney Gano, joining us. First timer here on In the Circle. How you doing with the new titles?
Good. I love the new titles. I'm doing really good. I am happy to be here and chat with you. Um, and yeah, I'm glad to be a Husky still.
Well, let's talk about that first. Tell me about that. What led to that decision there where you get to be now a full-time assistant coach? You've been with the program in a different role, but what kind of was this something always you had in mind to get into coaching full-time? Just take me through that thinking process.
I think in the back of my mind it was there, but I just wasn't ready to really get fully into it. And so last year when I did some player development stuff with UW, that's when I knew right away because with player development, you can't technically coach. And so it was very hard for me to like not be hands-on coaching the players. And that kind of made it clear to me what I wanted to do and that I wanted to do this full time. And I also just got a glimpse into how it is coaching with our coaching staff because I've only played under them. So um, it kind of gave me this new perspective and it made it clear that this is the place that I wanted to be and what I want to do.
Take me for those that may not be aware. Tell the audience what your role was with the program last year.
Yeah, so player development is, let's just say our coaches don't have much time to look at the data that we can collect. So we have all sorts of things that we have. There's hit tracks, there's some programs have Rapsodo, Blast, whatever it may be to collect this data. And it may be collected, but now what do you do with it? The coaches don't have that much time to sort through it and create plans and whatnot for each player. So with player development, we can look at that and we can kind of figure out uh, kind of like for each player we can do. I'm trying to figure out like the best way to explain it. We can come up with a plan. So say someone's bat speed was really low or something like that and we're looking at that on Blast, we can figure out, okay, let's put them on a bat speed program or um, something of that sort. We can look at scouting stuff, film, all that sort of stuff. So I know each program kind of can figure out what they want from their player development, but that's kind of the role that I took last year. I can watch opponents and figure out plans for our players. So kind of just taking things off the plate from the coaching staff that they couldn't really like um, dig deep into. Yeah, so that's pretty much it.
Well, and I'm wondering, for having that role, how much of that role is going to help you now into this new position now as a full-time assistant? Because I'm sure there's still aspects of that you want to use as a coach. I mean, coaches, there's so much video now before than there ever was. Maybe even back when you were playing at Washington, you probably wish you had some of this stuff available.
No, that's so true. We have a lot of things that we did not have when I was playing, and I do wish that we had it. But I think you know what it really helped me with is playing this season. So when I didn't have that much time to train for this last AUX season, but seeing all of the film and just watching pictures over and over and scouting and creating plans, it really helped me playing, to be honest. But I think that it helps a lot with the coaching aspect of things, just because you really had to dig deep into things and you really had to like just evaluate and watch the players very closely. And so I think that that translates really well because now I could have a more hands-on approach and like, okay, this is what we want to do instead of just like, okay, here's the data and you kind of have to figure out what you want to do with it. Like I couldn't tell them, okay, let's make this adjustment. I could create a plan, but I couldn't like actually tell them, all right, let's do this with your stance or let's do this with your gather or whatever it may be. So now it can just kind of be the whole package, I guess.
Yeah, it's tremendous. Did you have already in your mind decided this was going to be your last year playing when this assistant coach position kind of developed? Was that already in the works? Was that something that, hey, or was it one of those where once you knew you were going to get this assistant coaching job, you're like, maybe I should just kind of, this could pretty much wrap up my playing career because I want to focus all on coaching. How did that affect all your decisions?
Yeah, I had already known that this was my last season coming up. And then this kind of solidified things. It just all made sense. Um, where I've been at, in November, my dad passed and I was taking care of him. And softball was not even a question in my mind at that point. It gives you a lot of perspective. So I wasn't even thinking about training or playing. And then after he passed, I was kind of thinking that I'm done. It seemed too much. And so I gave it some time. I gave it a couple months and I realized that like I do want to play that short AUX season and I was going to do it with a purpose and a reason. And the timing of it all made sense because if I got that assistant coaching job, then that means that I could play that season and then I could still be on the road to recruit and be available in the summertime. So honestly, the timing of it all worked out and it was perfect. And the last couple of seasons of playing, I can't say I was totally enjoying it. I was putting so much pressure on myself. I probably wasn't really playing up to my own standard, which was affecting me. So I knew that the writing was kind of on the wall, and I'm really glad that I went into this last season the way I did because I was able to perform like I know that I'm able to, and just have fun with it and enjoy my teammates. And then now I am ready to recruit and get some new dogs.
Yeah, I did. I was interested. I did learn that you talked to our friend Jenna Becerra on her podcast about you fought through some anxiety over the last couple of years that you weren't playing your potential. Where did you was that just a kind of a mental thing that was playing with you there because you wanted to play at such a certain standard? Like I'm kind of trying to kind of glance at how this all kind of came about, where you were dealing with. It seems like you were kind of fighting yourself in a way.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that happens a lot with athletes, especially in our sport. Um, but I can kind of contribute it to after having Gregory. Um, I would say I had a lot of anxiety. He has epilepsy, and when he was born, he had seizures, and I definitely went through postpartum depression. And so I think that some of it stemmed from that, definitely because I saw anxiety and just in all aspects of my life that I hadn't dealt with prior. So I think it was one of those things. And then also just coming back feeling like maybe I had something to prove. And if, I wasn't seeing the results right away. So, it can easily kind of start building. And I think that the anxiety kind of built. And I just wanted to show that, like, I can still do this type of thing. And honestly, that wasn't even my goal coming in. I wanted to show other women that if they want to have children and continue to compete and play, we can do it. And I did do that. And so, I was fighting with myself of like, my goal is to not come out here and honestly not be the best one out here. I just want to do my best. But I think the competitive side of people can easily bring on that anxiety and that angst. So yeah, that's kind of what I fought with. And I can't say that I put much effort into the mental side of things. I didn't feel like I really had time for the mental game. Just juggling being a mom, having a job, playing, training, all of that. I was kind of like, well, I'm just gonna, I'm just gonna get through it and figure it out. So I probably could have leaned on a few um, things for the mental side of the game, but
But you
I don't
stayed,
know.
but you stayed with softball even through all that you've talked about. Through your passing of your
Yeah.
dad, through having the kid. Did you find that softball in a way helped you? Being around it helped you kind of with everything.
I would say being around my teammates helped me the most. I feel confident that without the game, I'm okay. I feel confident that it does not define who I am or what I am, but definitely being around my teammates was absolutely incredible. Having that support system is so important, and it's actually been hard just going and being around all my teammates and my lifelong friends that have become family, and then leaving Chicago and coming back home. It's kind of like a crazy transition because you're around all these people and they're with Gregory, my son, all the time and helping with him and just being able to talk to them all the time and then coming back home and like maybe phone calls and whatnot and text, but it's a little bit different. So I'd say that side of it really helped me. The, the softball side this last season was so fun and so great, but I don't think that I needed that. What I needed was my support.
What was that like the last few days there at AUX where you knew it was coming to an end? Obviously, unfortunately, those that followed it, their last game never got played that we thought because of the poor air conditions going on in Chicago with the wildfires and everything. So the last game of the season got canceled. But leading up to that, there was a lot of attention towards you because everybody knew this was it for you. What was those emotions like for you?
Um, I was just trying to embrace every single moment. And yeah, you're right. I didn't get to play that last game. And of course, I would have loved to. But coming into the season, I think that I truly embraced every single moment, every single game like it was my last. And I really enjoyed it. So if I didn't do that, I think that I would have been really upset that I didn't get that last game. But I was totally content and at peace knowing that I played all of those games and I embraced the time with my friends, with all my teammates and my friends. And I really soaked in those moments. So it was okay. I don't need the last game to feel content or fulfilled. I had the people around me. We watched an amazing tribute that they made for my career and with my dad involved in it. And it was really special. And as soon as we watched that video at the end with some of the fans there, it was just like it felt really complete. So yeah, I'd say that the feeling was a sense of peace the whole time.
That ceremony is something you're gonna probably remember when you think back to this AUX season, your last go around. That seems to me like that's gonna be one of the things you'll remember.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because I didn't really know what to expect with the video. I knew that they were putting something together and I had no idea because I told them in an interview that I remember last AUX was really special because my dad was there and I got to hit that grand slam walk off and my dad stayed and I remember there being tears in his eyes, but that was just something that, I thought that I would just see in my mind. And it was just a story that I could tell. But they had footage of him with tears in his eyes that I had never seen before. And so when that footage came up at the end, it just like I don't remember even what I was saying, but I had all the girls around me and I think I was saying like no way, no way. And because I never thought that I'd actually see it with my own eyes or other people would see it. So it was a oh my goodness, I can't explain that moment, but it was so surreal. And you know, all my teammates came and they hugged me after and we were kind of just in this huge big hug all with our tears and yeah, those are moments that you just never forget. It's the people that you don't forget.
Incredible that they found that footage and it worked out that you got to see that. That's
Oh, it
truly
was
remarkable.
insane. Yeah.
I remember that game too. That's arguably the greatest game, at least the most exciting game in either EUX or even Athletes Unlimited all time since it started. I mean, that was a back and forth affair. I remember watching that game. People got into it. So much was on the line. What was it like to be a part of that game and ending it the way you did?
I don't even think I realized how much was on the line for, for Danielle O'Toole and Deja. Like, I wasn't really thinking about that because I was all the way like probably number 40 or 39. So I wasn't thinking about the top three. I was having so much fun that game. We had such a fun team. And oh my goodness, it was so back and forth and so competitive and everyone was really into it. So I think it was just really fun being in that moment and going 10 innings with we were against Georgina Korick, who was just having an insane game. And we were, I think the only runs that we really scored were home runs. Like it wasn't like everyone was hitting crazy amount that game. So it was just like huge moments and so passionate. So it was a nice way to end it.
I'm curious because you're probably one of the best people to ask this question. You've played in Athletes Unlimited. You've played in the NPF. You've played overseas, I believe, in Italy, if I'm not mistaken. There,
Yeah.
where do you see pro softball going? overall for women moving forward now that you've experienced it? Give me your thoughts where we're headed. Are we in the positive direction here?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We're definitely in a positive direction, and I'm really excited to see this game grow. And I think that it has grown rapidly. I mean, we've seen it on the collegiate side, um, just with the World Series and viewership, and pro softball. I mean, the AU model is definitely unique and different, but I can tell you this with AU, we are professionals. They treat us so, and they have incredible policies for AU. We're taken care of, and so I just think that at least with Athletes Unlimited, I think that it's a great opportunity. And then we have WPF. There's all sorts of opportunities right now, and I hope at some point we can join together or work alongside each other to be able to play both of them and give our women the opportunity that we deserve to be able to play all summer, to be able to make a living, and not have to have side jobs or jobs throughout the year. So I think that it's definitely in a positive direction. The fact that we have an ESPN deal with Athletes Unlimited is huge for our sport. And yeah, I only see it going up. And I'm so proud that I was able to be a part of AU. I'm so proud of all my friends that are growing the game. And I think that, you know, we've definitely been paving the way, and we're thankful for the ones that came before us. And I hope to see the players that I'm watching right now in high school as I recruit. I hope that I get to see them on the big stage, and that people get to continue their careers.
That's tremendous, and I like your idea. I mean, I feel like there should be there's so much talent out there. There should be plenty of room to do different versions of pro leagues in the states, and not force players to retire abruptly or go overseas to play. I think that's kind of the goal. You're right. The ESPN deal, it's a big step for Athletes Unlimited on that. Do you think there's some things that you think that needs to be tweaked or done in general to make it successful, as make it as popular as the college game clearly is right now?
Right now, I mean, of course, expanding, being able to be in different states, different cities, having a bigger fan base so people can actually come and watch it in person. Of course, we haven't had pro softball on the West Coast in a very, very long time. We were going to have the California promotion team at one point until 2020. But I think that getting it just expanded would be great. And I understand that that takes time. But, some people still don't know that there's professional softball. And if they can come to a game, or if they can just flip through the channels and see it for a second, a lot of people fall in love with the game very quickly. And I think that that's kind of, just having that exposure is really important. So I hope in the upcoming years that we can keep expanding and bring it to different cities, different states, different countries, whatever it may be, and allow them access to watch.
Well, one of the people that's obviously been influential, and at least on the Athletes Unlimited side, is Victoria Haywood, who you reunite with, as you know, obviously you've played with her. Now you're going to be coaching with her. She's back at Washington. What has that been like to be back with Victoria on the coaching side at Washington?
It's been really fun. She's someone that I can really learn from. She's been in the coaching side for 7 years now, and so she has a ton of experience. And I kind of just been going to her to kind of figure out some stuff, any questions that I may have, because I think that experience, that's the best way to learn. And so, she's been in different programs, and now that she's back at UW, I think it's a really special thing for us, for all of us to be together. And it's cool to see her in a different light other than playing. I got to see her playing college ball, and we got to be teammates at AU, and I got to see her in a different light there. We're more grown up than we were in college, and we got to have a kind of a different relationship, and have a different type of friendship. And then, yeah, now I'm just excited to be alongside her and Sis Bates. And I feel like Coach Tar really has her people around her. Um, we got to play under Coach Glasso, so it's really fun, and it's just going to be a great experience for us.
I couldn't help but resist. You and Victoria were teammates at Washington, as was Whitney Jones. You all now are full time assistants, and I know all of you. So I'm curious, when you were all playing together, Washington, did coaching even come up in conversation? I mean, it's kind of wild that you all were teammates on the same team and you all are now in coaching.
If you would have told all three of us that we would be coaching, even just one of us, I think, coaching, I think we would all look at each other and said, BS. I don't think any of us saw ourselves coaching. Maybe Wit. I mean, Wit was, she was really into the strength and conditioning side of things. And I think that that's where she saw herself for a while. But definitely Vic and I, no way. We would have called you crazy. Even us playing until this point, we would have called you crazy.
That's too
But
funny.
yeah, things happen, you just never know where things will lead you. And we're definitely where we're supposed to be.
You're all a big part of this Heather Tart coach tree, which is growing and growing. I mentioned obviously Whitney Jones, who I know was at UCF, is now at Ohio State, going into her second year there. You got Jen Salling, who's the assistant at UCF. It's also been part of the Canadian national team, as Victoria has been as well. I can go on and on. What is it about that fraternity? Because you're all spread out now. You're all spreading out.
I think it says a lot about our experience at UW and it's what we learned from our coaching staff. There's some people that probably want to run away from softball and coaching and stay far away from it after college. But I think it says a lot, especially having our alumni back at UW. So to have Vic, Sis, and I all come back for the coaches we play for, I mean, that says all it needs to about our experience there. There's so much to learn from Coach Tar, and and then there's UCF. So there's Coach Bear, Coach
Yep.
Cindy Ball, who was at UW when I was there. She was coaching, and so that's a part of it too. And I think that we are just inspired by these strong human beings that we get to learn from. Like Coach Tar has been very, very influential and inspiring in my life, and to be able to coach alongside her is an incredible opportunity for me, and I'm really, really excited.
That's right, Coach Bomo. I forgot. Coach Bomo was on the staff when you were still. What was it? Your freshman year? What was it? What year was it that?
Yeah, my freshman year, Cindy Ball was there. Maybe sophomore year too. I don't know. Honestly, all my years mix up. I have no idea,
Hey,
but 1 or 2 years, and I loved my experience with her. I think only my freshman year. Um, but yeah, and we have a great relationship too. So she's been influential in a lot of our players' lives as well. And yeah, I think we just have great people around.
yeah, no, it's really good. Kaya Gibson, who's now the assistant at Utah. I mean, so
Yeah.
it's just I'm telling you, it's just growing there. You're all going to go against each other, though. That's the only negative.
Yeah, but that's part of it. I mean, that's part of the things that you love to do with sports, right? It probably wouldn't be as fun if we were all just on the same team and never got to help others, right? Like they can be influential and they can create their own legacy there. And so I'm proud that they get to do that. And I'm excited to be able to see Kaya Gibson in the Pac-12 and we get to play her and whatnot. That's always fun.
No doubt. For without question, what have you described working for Coach Tart like you have versus playing for her? What things have you learned as a coach coaching under her that you didn't know as a player? What are some of the differences or maybe similarities, if you will?
I think it's very different. I also think it would be very different if I was playing for her back in the day and then coaching right away. Um, she's a lot different, I would say, now than she was when I was a player. I think that she has grown a lot, and there's, I don't know. So when I was in college, I couldn't see myself probably coaching alongside our staff because it was so like I felt like softball was everything, and I don't know if there was like much of a balance. And I think that Coach Tar has learned more of a balance, and I'm really proud of her for that. Um, and so right now, I am so happy that I get to be alongside her in this time of her life because there's things that happen in life that kind of change your perspective and change how you do things. And I think that she's in a time of her life where she has really learned that perspective and she's gained different, big things happen in life. You lose people. Um, and you figure out what's important and whatnot. So I'm excited to be alongside her. We've both kind of had some traumatic experiences in the past couple years that I think have made us closer together and more relatable. And I'm excited to kind of work through those things alongside her. You know, we all have our good days and our bad, and when someone can relate to you, I think it's really important. So um, yeah, it's definitely different from when I played and now, but I can tell you this, there's one thing that has stayed the same with her, and it's the fact that she has always treated me like family and cared for me. And I have said this story before, but her and my dad had a great relationship, and that's something that I valued. Going to, you know, where I was going to choose to go to school is I wanted it to feel like family, and it always has felt like family. And she, besides me and my son's dad, she was the last person to be with my dad before he passed, and that tells a lot about someone. And for her to show up and be there for our family, I mean, those are the things that you can't just go and get anywhere, you know. Those are the things that mean the most in life. And so yeah, I'm just happy to be here.
Unique bond, right? That's a unique bond
It's
that
so
lasts
unique.
off the field. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Well, what's interesting, of course, you mentioning balancing things. She's obviously also the U.S. national head coach. She just got back recently from Dublin, Ireland, helping the U.S. qualify for the World Cup next year. Coach Paul Malone on the staff. So I'm curious with her and her commitments to USA softball. And I've talked to her about it. I've told her, you know, when she's on the show, I'm kind of blown away how she does all this stuff on her plate. But obviously, that means you know, and you and Victoria have important roles from that standpoint because she's not there all the time. So just talk about the responsibilities that you and Coach Haywood and Coach Glasso have on the staff, on the field here, and as well as, you know, when she's not away, because they're obviously all of you have
Mhm.
to chip in on the helping the program.
Yeah, we definitely have a unique experience, I guess, or we have like a unique coaching staff to where it's a blessing that she gets to lead our national team. And then we have Victoria and Sis Bates, who are still playing their pro careers, and hopefully they get to play for a very long time. And that's kind of just is what it is, because they are bringing something so valuable to our staff, and it's so unique. And so right now, Glass and I, you know, with people's schedules, you know, Glass and I may be going out to recruit. And then Coach Tara was in Ireland and she comes back. Like, she has so much on her plate, but she does such a fantastic job of just balancing everything. And the passion that she has is absolutely incredible. And I think that that's what fuels her. But um, yeah, I mean, we just kind of have to, what we say is we compensate and adjust. And that's kind of what we have to do when it comes to, you know, the summertime, because we don't want to take away the opportunity of playing, because there's so much value that that brings for Victoria and Sis to be able to continue their pro careers and to be able to bring that experience back to our team. And so I think it's just like a very valuable thing. And it's a unique type of situation, but we kind of just figure it out.
No, that's it's wild. That's right. Everybody, all the responsibilities there.
Yeah.
How is Coach Courtney Gano different than Courtney Gano the player?
Well, I would say I have a lot more empathy. um, you know what? College, college Courtney Gano is a lot different of a player than professional Courtney Gano. So I would say that's the biggest difference. I yeah, I didn't have many feelings in college. I was like, you know what, you're either on my team or you're not. And it was like, I don't know, eat or be eaten type of mentality. And it was funny going into pro ball because Gwen Sedekis was like, I never thought I'd be friends with you. Like, we didn't like you. No one would have ever imagined that we're friends. And it's funny because you get to see like a different perspective off the field, because I'm super competitive, but I would say now I am so much softer. And maybe it's after becoming a mom, but I'm like a big teddy bear now. And really, I just want our players to be their best selves and to be able to um, make sure that they know that they're loved and cared for. And I think that that's, you kind of need that on your staff. So to have that balance, but I think that that's important. And um, yeah.
That's incredible. Speaking of assistant coach Courtney Gano here on In the Circle, I got to ask you, where were you in the regional Sunday, Seattle, McNeese, top of the seventh, 6-0 McNeese, not looking good at that point. It's looking pretty bleak. Where were you at that point? And just take me through that inning because it's a historic inning, one of the most incredible comebacks in the history of the sport, where you come back, score 7 runs. I hadn't been done in, I think, 20, 30 some years. Take me through that because that was a tough day up until that point. McNeese had won the first game to force that game 7, and they took it to you. They were a talented team. So where were you in that top 7?
Yeah, McNeese did an amazing job, and they showed up to play. I think after the first game, we were still like, okay, like, we just got to win this one. And I was on the bucket right behind the batter, and that's where I sit. And I remember seventh inning, just kind of looking at our dugout, thinking like, I I hope that they believe that this could actually happen. And I know it's a hard thing to do, but we were pretty quiet. And I walked down the dugout and said, like, hey, believe it. You got to believe it. And it's really hard until you see it, right? Like, I mean, to be able to think about, oh, we can score 7 right now. I think we had 1 out at the time. And then we scored 1, we scored 2, and it just like started getting a little bit more energy and kind of looking around like, okay, now I think subconsciously they believed it, but they were actually seeing it with their own eyes that they could do this. And that's a very special thing to feel. And I think it was after Jadlyn got her sack fly is when people really started to believe, because she came in and I remember her just being so pumped up, giving high fives, like, we got this. And I can't even believe that it's real still. I mean, it was such a special moment for our program. And you have to go through those things. I don't think that we would have been the team that we were if we didn't go through that, and that stuff, like I told Jenna when on our podcast, like, it doesn't come overnight. Those are the things that you're building in the fall, when you're working your butts off together, and you're looking at each other while you're doing conditioning and trying to figure out, is this worth it, type of thing. It's those seventh inning, what they call it, miracles. So yeah, it was so incredible to see our women fight like that, and that's what Husky softball is all about, and we're so proud of that.
It was remarkable. And it's one thing to say, hey, believe you still got a chance to do it, but it's harder to do. But you mentioned when you thought it was starting to happen and everything like that, where people then started to talk more in the dugout. I mean, take me, was it lively at that point? What were the
Yeah.
emotions like?
Yeah, I'd say it started becoming more lively, when Jadlyn hit that sack fly. And I don't know if that was the first or the second out, but yeah, there were tears in the dugout. And I think it was just like really hard for our seniors or our fifth years. Like, this could be the end of it. And I don't think that that's how they pictured the end being, is, losing, I guess, more early on than they would have ever expected. I mean, we were expecting to be in the last game in OKC. And that's what we worked for. And so, yeah, the energies just started picking up, and it was just so crazy. Like when Sammy Reynolds was up to bat, like, I think that we all just truly believed it. Like, we were just like on the fence, ready to go. And when she hit that ball, it's so cool now to see it on video of her at second base. And she just took in that moment. She took a deep breath and she put her hands on her head and she looked at the stand and in the dugout, and she had tears in her eyes, because it was like just such an incredible moment that you work so hard, and it's for moments like that, and it's for the people around you. So yeah, it's so hard to even explain how it felt, but I was so proud of them.
It was remarkable. You come back, you win it 7-6, and I think a lot of people always will remember the image they're interviewing Coach Tar on the TV side. She's got the headset on, and all the players swarm around her. She's in tears and everything. What was that like, being on that field at that moment when you had won the game? What were the emotions like for you being around that?
Just so emotional. It was, it was a roller coaster. So it was like you're kind of here and you're here and you're here, and then you're trying to wrap your head around the fact that this just happened because it was so crazy. Um, and I think that Coach Tar, I mean, she was probably uh, bottled up with emotions and finally was able to let it out. And then to have, her women around her hugging her, it was such a special moment. And I think that like this is what it's all about. We work so hard, and these women go through a lot of things. They're juggling all sorts of things. Their social life, school, whatever's happening back home. There's a lot of stuff, and they have a lot on their plate. And so when you're working so hard with a group of people for moments like this, I think you embrace it. And that's what it felt like. We were just sitting there like I sat on the grass and I was like, wow, what just happened? And I had Gregory there and whatnot, and I just got to look around at our women and just feel so proud of them.
Yeah, the crowd was going crazy. It was kind of a unique day because it was typical Seattle weather, a little misty rain from time to time. It was wild. And
Yeah.
you go on and beat Louisiana in the super regionals. From the outside, it felt like, y'all, that momentum just carried over to the super regionals. Is that accurate? Did that some of that momentum
Yeah.
help you get you go through the super regionals against a really good Louisiana team?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that when you go through something like that with your team, it brings you closer and you prove a lot to yourselves. So it felt really good. It felt like we were coming in with that momentum and that nothing could stop us type of thing. And then I would say continued, into the World Series. We had a really great time. And then, next year we're planning on being at that last game.
You know that game now is going to be used by every coach in the country. They're going to tell their players if they're down by a certain score in the seventh inning, hey, remember what Washington did. So teams are
Mhm.
actually going to use this against you too, probably. So what is that like? Because
Yeah.
people are going to use that game and that moment as a rallying cry in a lot of ways, as an example of, hey, they did it, we can do it too.
That's okay. If we're inspiring other teams, great. Let the Huskies inspire you by all means. I love that. And it actually I took that into this last AUX season. We were down, I don't know how many runs, and I'm thinking in my head, like, listen, it's possible. If you guys saw our game, it's possible. And we actually happened to us in the seventh inning at AUX. The other team scored seven in the seventh inning. And I'm like, hey, that looks familiar. And now I'm on the other side of it. Obviously, probably not, the stakes aren't as high, but I have been on both sides of the dugout now.
I wasn't going to bring that part up, but since you brought it up, that did happen. That's why the irony of all irony, right? That's the sport, though, in a nutshell, right? It just kind of evens
Yeah.
itself out in a long ways. You mentioned the trip to the World Series there. I mean, you're arguably a couple of hits away of playing for the national title, right? If a couple of hit go here a certain way against FSU or Stanford, you're in a different direction. What do you all hope to take from that experience, having been back to the World Series for the first time since 2019, and applying that now to this upcoming season that's coming up?
Yeah, I mean, it's a game of inches, right? And sometimes things go your way, sometimes they don't. But I think just making small adjustments. Every year it's a different team, but I just we're planning on taking that momentum and continuing it and working on the small things that we can control. Um, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think that we had a lot of people that graduated, and we're really excited for what our future holds. And now we have a lot of experience of people going to the World Series. Every single team in UW history has gone to the World Series now, so that's a pretty incredible thing since our program started. And for our women to bring that experience to our rookies and kind of lead them is, we value that. It's big.
That's big and exciting, and it's exciting to see you on the dugout there and the coaching staff role there alongside Victoria. You two still going to be competitive as coaches? Is there like any internal like competitions going on that we need to know about? You and Sis Bates, that's a lot of competitive people in there.
No, we use it against the other team.
Very,
No,
very.
we're all on the same team, and maybe back in college we could have done that, but no, when you reminded that we all have the same goal, and I think that if there is any competitive fire, it will only fuel us all, and it's in a healthy way that will make us better because you want people around you that are going to challenge you, and we definitely have that. We have a lot of strong personalities. We have a lot of passionate people, and when you're doing things with good intentions, it can only help you. And so, yeah, I think that's what we've brought to the table so far, and I am excited for this coaching staff and for our players to experience it.
Well, we're excited that you're on board. Thank you so much for coming on with us. Thank you for being so candor and telling your story. It's a great story of everything you've done and overcome. And I'm just excited for you and Victoria to be back there in Washington together and helping Coach Tar out. And thanks for doing this and talking to us. It's a pleasure to really have watched you play and look forward to seeing you now as a coach. And like I said, it was a pleasure to have you on. Thanks for doing this and hope to do this again down the road.
Thank you, Eric. I appreciate it. Thank you for what you do for softball and helping growing our sport. This has been a fun conversation. I appreciate it.